Good morning for another episode, and we start a little bit with a little bit of a drama. You see, this is a normal, boring coffee cup, and because the red one is broken, it's not good. I'm not gonna say obviously who was Steve, but yeah, the red cup already was kind of part of this series, but we have to do without it anyways. Jokes aside, bit of a coffee and we get on. The last episode, I showed you the news about the DSG gearbox that instead of over this winter, we gonna do it now because we got a customer who was asking for to see if it fits or doesn't. And I said last week that next week, which is this week, at the end of it, we will try to fit it on and see how many modifications it needs to be fitted, and if it fits physically, if something needs to be moved or chopped out or make a space for it, all that stuff. Because every time we ask someone about DSG against the OM2 gearbox, which is completely manual one, they said, oh, this is much bigger, it's much different, there's no chance you're gonna fit, you need more space. So we never had a DSG in the workshop, so I had no clue for myself. So you've seen the gearbox, and this is not the one. The one you saw, it was front-wheel drive. This is all-wheel drive gearbox, which changes a little bit because actually we use the four-wheel drive gearboxes because we use these mounting holes that usually are used for the transfer case, and the transfer case looks like this on the O2M engine, but it's roughly the same stuff, so you can have a good idea of both of them, how it works. Because usually when you get this gearbox, you take those bolts, there's another two bolts on the bottom, you take this off, then there's a collar that transfers the motion from the differential, not from the drive shaft, from the differential to the transfer case. And in this case, it works pretty much the same. Now the plate that we use, the mounts that we use, this is again perfect example to show it how it works. This is your standard Toyota mount. This is your adapter to dislocate and put it in a different position, a slightly different position. And then the plate that actually goes on the all-wheel drive gearbox is that one there. You see, so we have the resist for the oil seal for the half shaft, the rings inside, because the difference between this gearbox and the DSG is this gearbox has an oil transfer between the gearbox and the transfer case. So obviously that all needs to be blank, there has to be O-rings, everything has to be sealed, and it's all behind this plate. So this is pretty much what we use. Now, I've noticed that on these gearboxes, for obvious reasons, because they use different oil, there is no oil transfer between the transfer case and the diff, so there's nothing to block, but we still need these mounts. Now these four bolts, they are in a slight different position than the OM2 gearbox, so we need to find out how exactly modify it and all that stuff, but it's only minor modifications, and it only is for this plate here. Now if you haven't seen Steve's video from last week about how difficult it is to put the DSG gearbox on one of these engines and put it in a car, I suggest you go there and have a look how difficult and painful and complicated the process is, because it took us the whole lot of 8.5 minutes. That's the DSG gearbox there, fitted. I already put the car up. I'm not gonna lower it because I needed my race car to be forward, because I need to lower the mock-up MR2, because today is again continue working on the wiring loom, which all the problems are sorted, everything is working out. I just have to clean it and put everything down, like I said, like I promised, and then we're gonna make this instructional video of how to etc, which is gonna include again the wiring loom. I already say that. Anyways, back to DSG. DSG fits, and it fits actually even slightly better than the normal gearbox. There is a little minus, there's a little downside. It's not much, but it's tiny bit. If you see this part of the gearbox, the bottom side, I think it sticks out about 10-15 millimeters down in comparison to the O2M gearbox. Again, not a big deal. not a deal breaker, anything, but obviously has to be pointed out. We use a shallow sump with a metal pan, not this one. This is just a mock-up engine. So with the shallow sump, yeah, it's a little bit shallower than this. So then you probably notice the gearbox will stick out those 10 or 15 millimeters. But again, not a big deal. So in overall, it's a great solution. On the top, everything, it fits with my gearbox mount. The same mount we use it for O2M, and actually, like I say, everything looks clean and tidy, and yeah, no modifications needed. There's plenty of space between the subframe and the gearbox, plenty of space here. That mount there fits. For the DSG ones, I will have to put a small spacer on the top of that bolt, where that bolt is there, underneath, because the structure of the gearbox is slightly different, but nevertheless, the bolts, they align, everything fits, and that mount there, obviously, that is the one who decides how clocked the engine is, and it's exactly the same as with the O2M. So all good. Now let's quickly talk about because yeah, let's keep it wrap it up. The differences between the DSG and the manual. Do I think one is better than another? A lot of people are gonna say, yeah, DSG is bollocks, is the best one, is the better one, is the one you want to go. No, I don't agree with this. I think both of these gearboxes are very good, are very, very good, and I rate both of them greatly to use on the MA2. Now you say, okay, but you have the DSG, why you don't go just DSG fully? Because again, they both good, it's just different applications. For example, the O2M gearbox, actually Steve has an onboard video shifting the gears. I think it was a in-car noise with 500 brakes, whatever, shifting the gears. And someone said in the comments that, something in the lines of this sequential box changes quickly or something like this. And it was funny because it was a normal O2M gearbox. But if I didn't knew this was the gearbox in, I would have thought that could be potentially a sequential gearbox, because these boxes, when everything is set up properly, they change very quickly. When I say set it up properly, I'm talking this gearbox in the MA2 with my conversion. Now, this is the link, this is the modification of the linkage, okay? So when you set them up, we're gonna show this everything with in a how-to. For example, this one here is not set up correctly. Yeah, this one here is almost correctly, but not correctly. I know because I put lots of them. This here swings a little bit left and right. And what you want to do, you want to put, there's another mount here that holds the cable for this, and you want that cable to be directly in line with this at 90 degrees, because there is little movement on that rod. So that needs to be set up properly. Also, there are bushes. Do we have them? Oh yeah, there you go. Steve has them here. So these bushes here, as you can see, this is end of the gear shifting lines. Usually they're in rubber. As you can see, we made them in aluminium just to give you a bit more feeling and more precision of shifting. In that way, those boxes shift incredibly fast. Nonetheless, sure, DSG will shift even slightly quick, but the difference is not huge. So I always say that for a pure driving or driver's experience, you want a manual shifter, because if the gearbox is good, it's a pleasure to shift the gears, you know, through the power band and all that stuff. So that's one thing. However, although this gearbox is much cheaper to buy in comparison to DSG, if you're going for the bigger power, you need a bigger clutch. Now, up to, let's say, 300 brakes, over 300 brakes, you know, you can buy something very basic. It's not going to cost you much money. However, if you're going for 500, 600 brakes, something a bit more, you know, quick, you need something like this, twin plate clutch. Now with the twin plate clutches, you're looking at 1,000 and plus pounds. So, you know, it gets expensive, not because of the gearbox, because of the clutches. DSG, on the other hand, you find the DQ250s, because this is the ones we're using. These ones here, actually that one there, this is slightly different. You're looking at about 5, 7, 800 pounds maybe. That's gearbox and clutches already there. If you have to change the clutch for the power pack, they're not expensive. So theoretically, for the big part, DSG could work out actually cheaper. And then for performance, I always suggest that the both gearboxes are good. But if you want to do the lap time, if you want to do the track car, if you want to race the car or drag racing, DSG is a little bit more comfortable because you don't have to leave your hands, you don't have to leave your steering wheel because paddle shifting. If you want to, you can program it to shift automatically for the full performance. Say for example, drag racing, you program the gearbox to change exactly at the RPMs you want and the boost level RPMs you want, so it will do everything for you. So again, it's a bit lazy but efficient, we have to say it. So both gearboxes are great. We're not gonna discard one or another. We're gonna do the swaps with both of the gearboxes. It all depends on applications. Now Steve was tempted to use a DSG straight away, but we opted to actually go ahead and keep working with the OM2 gearbox because now he's got the LSD fitted on, he spent some money on it, now he's prepared, it's a good gearbox, it's fresh, he's got the clutch on it already. So, you know, and again, there's not very much of a downside using the OM2 gearbox. So we just continue with that for now in his car. Then possibly we're gonna build something a bit more crazy, much more power, and then probably gonna use a DSG because we need to learn about this stuff, electronics and all that stuff. Now electronics side, the controllers, you can have an external controller, like an aftermarket one. The standard EC controls them, or the Megatronic controls them as well. So yeah, on the market on the internet there's a lot of options. People have used them in all sort of cars, so controlling these gearboxes, not an issue whatsoever. So yeah, this is the update. I need to sell my Sylvia, so yeah, kind of. That thing is absolutely awesome, but I actually have to make another video about it because I really like it and I want to explain why, but that's a different video, you know, for different interests. Anyways, I see you next one.